of his property. Shatawale is driven off to an unknown location by armed officers as both musicians remain in police custody following brawl at Saturday's Music Awards.
I blame the Stonebwoy because security people there, even since just police. If for what that thing while they can do before go put gun. While they wake up, wake up.
We take you to the Central Police Station where the story seemed to be developing, where both men have spent the entire day. We'll tell you why. The Youth Authority is demanding that the police deal ruthlessly with both musicians.
This is Top Story with Evans Mensah.
And Top Story is always brought to you by Bond Savings and Loans. Your success, our passion, also brought to you by Gas and Cement, the nation builder. Vodafone, the future is exciting, ready, and Nationwide Health Insurance, your healthcare family. And what you hear in the background is what happened a few minutes ago, literally 10 minutes ago at the Central Police Station, where armed police officers escorted Stonebwoy from its premises. Earlier, a similar incident had occurred where a number of armed officers escorted Shatawale from his premises. The police have been to the property, the home of Shatawale, of Stonebwoy earlier, searched it, retrieved the gun that became a subject of heated controversy over the weekend at the Music Awards. My colleague Maxwell Gbagba is at the Central Police Station for us and joins us on the telephone line to fill us in. Maxwell, explain to me what we're hearing in the background here. What is happening there?
Well, what you're hearing in the background is just, as rightly mentioned, happened 5 minutes ago when armed police officers in a pickup vehicle, in an Operation Carmelite vehicle, stepped outside together with Stonebwoy. In fact, he was seated in the middle, and he had two police officers, one of them in plain clothes, seated by him. There was another officer also who was in front, who was at the front seat. Now, before they drove out of the compound of the Greater Accra Regional Police Headquarters, they were inside one of the offices for more than 4 hours, I should say. They've been here since afternoon. You remember earlier in the day, Stonebwoy was actually at the Dansoman Police Station, where we saw him in the office of the crime officer at the Dansoman Police Station. We are told that after the Dansoman Police Station, he was brought here to the Greater Accra Regional Headquarters, where the police officers here, the CID here, have been interrogating him. They stepped out from one office to the other into the office of the head of legal and prosecutions here. There they spent about 30 minutes before his manager and then a team of lawyers, stepped outside. They did not get into the vehicle that was taking him to the unknown location. For now, they went out in another vehicle. But just before Stonebwoy came out, we had police officers here telling us not to take footage of anything that was happening outside. In fact, we were not allowed, to film him as he got into the vehicle. But just before that happened, we had Shatawale also. He was also taken out in a police, vehicle, one of their patrol vehicles with tinted, glasses. Now, this is what happened. Usually, we have scores of people, gathered outside waiting patiently for these two dancehall artists. And what happens is that because they do not know how these people are going to come out, if they see any vehicle coming out, then they start screaming, Wale, Wale. Sometimes you'd hear beam, 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 beam. Ironically, when Shatawale was being sent outside, because it was a tinted glasses, the vehicle, it wasn't clear. So they really did not see.
Your call has been put on hold.
We'll try and get him back on the line there and get to the bottom of that conversation. Yes, Maxwell, I have you on back.
Yes, so the crowd that had gathered outside did not know that Shatawale was in the vehicle, so they couldn't scream. But we were here and we saw him being, escorted outside. So that is it right now. Just 5 minutes ago, 10 minutes ago, I should say, maximum, Stonebwoy has been taken to an unknown location. Police officers here are tight-lipped. They are not willing to tell us where they've been taken to. But we believe they've been taken to separate locations because even here at the regional office, they were kept in separate rooms. Shatawale was in the short room here, and Stonebwoy was kept in the CID long room where the interrogation, happened. But if you come here, all the offices, most of the offices here at the Accra Regional Office are closed right now, and just some few police officers, around at this point. There are still a lot of people, gathered outside because they did not see Shatawale being driven out, so they are under the impression that he's still here at the regional head office. So some of them are still standing outside right now. Yeah.
And earlier we heard that Stonebwoy was driven off in a similar fashion, but this time they took him to his home to search the property and retrieved the gun that apparently he had brandished during the Ghana Music Awards.
Exactly. That is the information that we picked from a source here at the police. He's a police officer. He gave us that information. It's not official though, but he told us that Stonebwoy was taken to his home, and then a gun was actually retrieved. But once again, it's unconfirmed. It's not an official, information. But that is what we picked up here at the regional headquarters of the Greater Accra Police. But it's important to state that was before he was sent out just some minutes ago. You remember they came here in the afternoon, just some hours after he was brought here. He was taken out again. He was taken out and then brought back. And then now left again to another location. We cannot tell exactly where they've taken him to.
Another characteristics of today has been the huge fan base. Some of them showing up at the Central Police Station there to show their support and solidarity for these two gentlemen who are of course in the arm of the law currently. And at the point, I understand that the police tried to control them because the crowd seemed to have grown over time.
Exactly. Even right now, just some minutes ago when Stonebwoy was taken out, you could see the excitement on the faces of some of the fans. Some of them forcefully trying to, enter the premises of the police, but they tried to stop them, keeping them a distance away. The road in front of the police head office here, so they're trying to keep them at that distance. So there are times that they would want to step beyond that boundary that has been set for them and then get closer and have a good view of what is happening. So right now, even as I speak to you, the gates have been closed, and that is what they've been doing. They open it when a car steps out, then they close it again. So right now, they're trying to keep them at that distance, not giving them a chance, to get closer or even come inside. So if you don't have any business here, the police wouldn't allow you to get inside. Personally, I stepped out to interact with some of the team and supporters who are outside, and I had to show my ID card before I was allowed to get inside. So yes, when it comes to security, they are not taking a chance. No, Evans.
Maxwell, thank you very much for that. And Maxwell has been there all day trying to understand what was happening with these two musicians. The police are obviously tight-lipped. We don't know if they've charged them with anything now that they've done some work in terms of retrieving the gun from Stonebwoy. We're trying to work the phone lines to see if we can get some police official confirmation of what exactly is happening tonight. Is the police going to hold them for an additional night, and have they charged them with anything? But already, a host of other institutions are speaking on this development. We have a statement from Music, but also we have a statement from the National Youth Authority, and we can speak to its CEO, Mr. Sigri, joins us on the telephone line right now. Thank you, sir, for your time here on Top Story.
Hello.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can hear you.
Grateful that you could join us. In your statement today, you are asking the police to deal ruthlessly with the musicians involved. Explain why.
Well, Evans, let me say good evening to you and your cherished listeners. I think that before I answer your question, let me say that in my statement, I did mention that that we should be thanking ourselves as a lucky country, after the day before yesterday's incident. If you have followed events of this nature and what it has brought out, you would have realized that we were just at the point of almost getting into that type of a situation. But God being so good, Ghana have not been put on the map of a disaster which was needless that would have hit us. The issues which we have tabled are clear to everyone in this country. I think that if you take these two young people who have made an impact for themselves, which is commendable, looking at their fan base, which is huge, they should have seen that as an issue that would lead them to serve as examples and not what we have seen coming from them for a period. So with these issues that have been in place for some time now, being issues of rivalry and we hearing them attacking each other through music they release and all that, it has traveled from that point to where we saw a near, clash, which didn't happen. And it is something that breached the laws of this country. And this is where we are asking that the police should deal ruthlessly with them.
We've heard already from our report on the ground from the Central Police Station where both gentlemen have been held. They seem to have, and you rightly noted, that the fan base is huge. A number of these supporters have shown up there to give them support, regardless of what they're accused of doing. What do you make of that? It appears as if, and as Trump has once said, he can walk down the street and shoot somebody and nothing will happen to him. People will still love him. As a National Youth Authority, that must be of some concern to you. That regardless of what has happened, and the probe that is the police is going into, the people who, regardless of that, adore them, and nothing will stop them from looking up to them as role models.
Yeah, rightly so, Evans. I mean, it has been a matter of concern, and that's why in our statement we have also admonished young people to be circumspect, especially the fan base of these two musicians, and asking that they take what has happened, not go beyond the normal thing where you would just be going at each other, being supporters of these successful musicians, who are almost running their careers down because of what has happened. I think that what is going on now is not the best at all, especially when it comes to the young people of our country. And this is what we as National Youth Authority for some time now have been trying to do in terms of our advocacy to young people, that we should not think that when one is wrong and the laws have to deal with such a person, because you belong or associate with that person, you should just be following blindly. I think that if you take into consideration what happened on Saturday, the numbers we had at the Dome, into thousands, about 90% or more than that were made up of young people. And anything that has happened would have been affecting young people. And so with what is happening now at the police service, where they are massing up in terms of who they are supporting and that kind of a thing, I think the police again should take this up. And then we as a country should condemn these acts where when people are invited or let me call it even arrested, and then you find people massing up at police station and then places of interrogations to want to show their support and that kind of a thing. I think we need to move away from it. It is not something that is all very well at all for us as a country, especially when it's got to do with young people. Yes, we can show our solidarity, but not in this sense. I think that is not right at all.
Emmanuel, thank you very much. That's the Chief Executive Officer of the National Youth Authority, who issued a statement tonight asking the police to deal ruthlessly with the two musicians. But as a fundamental question, what possible crime have any of these gentlemen caused to warrant their continued detention by the police? Let's speak to private legal practitioner Martin Kpebu, joins us on the telephone line right now. Mr. Kpebu, I'm grateful that you joined us here on Top Story. You've heard the story. Stonebwoy is alleged to have brandished a gun. There's video footage of that. The police is still holding them. Can the police hold them for this long? And what crime possibly would they have committed under the law?
Evans, as for holding them, Yes, the Constitution grants the police the power to hold for up to 48 hours. Of course, I'm quick to add that citizens, we've always been asking that when the persons are taken into custody, as much as possible, once the investigations are done, or even if the investigations are not done in 48 hours and those persons can be granted bail, they should be granted. So we all know that for Stonebwoy and Shatta, reasonably, they will be able to find persons to stand surety for them. So to the extent that they've not been granted bail, then I presumably means that there's still quite a bit to go by way of investigations. Now, when you talk about possible offenses, looking at it, the brandishing of the gun, I'll be cautious at this stage. I wouldn't see that as an offense by itself in the circumstances, because you see, if the person has a gun and there is imminent danger and he has to use it, he must bring it out. And sometimes, short of shooting, under the law, I'm sure we are not even disputing that. Under the law, you have a right to use a firearm to ward off any violence, even possibly to the extent of shooting the other person if your life is in danger, right? Yes, so naturally, if the gun is hidden somewhere, you must first bring it out in order to use it. You see? So I've heard people say, brandishing. I don't see how long that was in the video, at least the little that I just saw. I don't see how that was so prolonged as to say that that's brandishing. People are referring to Section 7 of the NRCD 9, that's the Arms and Ammunition Act. I think we should hasten slowly. From the little that I saw, I don't think that it was a display like what the Section 7 is saying. No. Somebody has a gun in his pocket. In order to use it, they must first bring it out. And even sometimes, let's say, depending on the circumstances, perhaps if you have to show it to the person about to cause you harm in order to ward off that person, it will be a reasonable use. So this way of holding the gun, I don't think that's what Section 7 of the law intends. So let's not also at the same time stampede the police. Let's give them some time. I believe that, of course, in due course, they will be granted bail, and then we'll take it from there. But don't forget the commotion. You see, the commotion. So the breach of peace.
Could they be charged with the disturbance of public peace?
That is possibly that's what we should be looking at. And also, there's one basic other law, whether the guns are licensed. You see, yes, in order to use a weapon, such a gun, you must have a license. So as a citizen, yes, you may have the right, all the money in this world to buy, but it's subject to the state granting you a license to use it. So if you have a weapon which is not licensed, that in itself is a crime, and that's quite serious. So perhaps we should be looking at that, and then the breach of peace.
So the point you're making is that if it turns out that Stonebwoy's gun is properly licensed and has a license to carry, the mere fact that he removed it is no crime. He hasn't done anything wrong there.
Oh, definitely. That's one. We will not quibble over that. He must necessarily remove it. I mean, look at it, Evans. Is it possible for him to use the gun while it's still in his pocket? Then in which direction is he shooting? How is he warding off the imminent danger? So it's that if the danger is close, you necessarily must remove it from wherever it is to ward off that danger. So Section 7 is talking about the persons not allowed to use guns, display them in public. Then that must be a kind of celebratory use of the guns. We have celebratory gunfire and all those things. Public display. Yes, I should think that's what Section 7 is aimed at. But for an ordinary citizen trying to use his gun, he must necessarily bring it out of his pocket or wherever it's hidden in order to use it.
It is very possible, from what you said, that legally this might be much ado about nothing.
No, Evan, don't use that phrase in this context. People are scared, especially in the context of the guns that were imported and all that. So, because I know what you mean, but for now, That's not how we would look at it. Like you've said, it's possible they'll be looking at breach of peace. You see, yes. So when we say much ado about nothing, that will be offending other people's sensibilities.
I'm grateful that you joined us, private legal practitioner Martin Kpebu. There's another fundamental question that needs to be answered, which is how is it possible with all the screening for a weapon, a gun, to find itself amongst thousands of people in an auditorium where there's an awards? Just think about how dangerous that is, and who else apart from Stonebwoy was carrying such an offensive weapon and managed to get it into the main auditorium. And of course, and we just had Martin Kpebu mention that there's a context of the raised security alert with terrorist threats and warnings all over the sub-region. So with these entertainment events happening regularly, this teaches a lesson. We've been asking that question of the organizers of the event, Charterhouse. I mean, what sort of screening happened before people were allowed to enter?
There was some screening done, but obviously what showed us is that there was a clear breach in the arrangements that were made. And these are things that we'll need to review and put more stringent measures in place, working closely with the security authority.
So that's Theresa Ayodele. She's the CEO of Charterhouse. She's also been talking about what sort of collaboration did they have with the police going into such a massive event. She's been speaking to Bernice Abubedu-Lansa.
They were aware that we were doing an event and that we had requested for some police security. We don't have the authority to get police at the event grounds without going through a channel and a process, which we did. And I think they did a real yeoman's job in restoring calm and order. Stonebwoy was saying that he was receiving threats and all that. That was not brought to our notice as organizers. If that had been formally presented to us as an, I'm feeling insecure because I'm facing threats, I need you to provide extra security or be cognizant of this situation so you can prepare, then we would have made those adequate measures and had that kind of briefing session with the police that, okay, this is what we need from you, but this is a threat that we need to look at. We would have put in extra measures to ensure that that threat was nullified.
Stonebwoy has apologized and says he hopes this will not affect his relationship with you. Would you want to respond to that now?
Well, it's good to show that, I mean, he has actually taken time to put together a press statement, which means that he does care about his publics, and that's commendable. But the event also has terms and conditions for participation which the artists sign up to, and one of them is clauses against violence and strong language and things like that. So as a board, we will still have to reconvene and review these actions in line with the terms and conditions that we've laid out, and then come up with whatever actions thereafter. But we are also interested not just in condemnation of the act, but also in encouraging more of peace and unity in the industry. Let's work together, let's collaborate to lift each other and to move higher. Speaking of terms and conditions, until recently, Shatta Wale had been suspended from your event. This is his year of comeback. In hindsight, do you regret lifting that ban on him? We've been very magnanimous with Shatta Wale's behavior towards us. We've always given him a chance to reinvent himself and to represent himself to us, and some of these attempts have been thrown back in our faces, and so it got to a point where we took a stand. We stood by that stance for about 2 years, just for the peace of mind and to just maintain our grips with regards to the event. After that, his team made overtures to us, and actually this year I made a personal effort to reach out to him and to engage a lot of these artists on a one-on-one to explain to them what we were doing and what this event meant to the industry and where we were taking this event even internationally. I had a one-on-one dinner with him, and his demeanor was totally different. He sounded very apologetic about his past behavior and promised to collaborate with us in all ways. In true to that, we actually worked with him on the nominees jam in Kumasi. Stonebwoy was there, they all performed, and there was no issue. We did the same at the Independence Square for the VGMA experience. Stonebwoy performed, he performed, and there was no issue. So we thought, okay, we're getting there. And so this incident actually took us completely by surprise.
So that's the Thursday Ayode there. She is a CEO of Charterhouse, the organizer Ghana Music Awards, and we're still working the phone lines to get the police to explain to us what's going to happen with the two musicians tonight. They've been held since last night, spent the entire day at the police central offices there, and as we know, the police have driven both gentlemen to their homes tonight to search their properties. A gun has been retrieved from Stonebwoy already, who was driven out just like 30 minutes ago with the armed police escort out of the premises of the Central Police. We don't know where he's been taken, but the police will try and get some understanding. Have they been charged with anything? What in particular? As you've heard the lawyer explain there, this may not be a cut and dry matter with the law. But we'll see what the police thinking is on this issue legally. There's more to this because later on, we'll bring you a special report on the two gentlemen and the feud that has existed between them over the years, and the fact that for Stonebwoy, this is the first time he's drawing a gun in public. You want to join us for that on Newsnight. Plus, NDC members of parliament to hit the streets tomorrow as they back protest against what they term cowardly oppression and tyranny against the media in Ghana. Organizers have been meeting the police. We have the latest. Stay with us.
Financial services.